So as my fast is ending, the Lord has given me so many things to talk about. Oh my goodness, y'all. Um, all right. So the first thing that he wants me to talk to y'all about is this. Um, sometimes we can still be mad at somebody about something, whether it's, a parent, someone that you were with, a friend, a sibling. You can be mad and angry at them for something. But what do you do when the Lord has forgiven them for the sin? You see, a lot of times we got to be very careful those that we are still mad at, we're still holding in a grudge, because that person, regardless of wherever you may think they are in their life or their spiritual walk, that person may have gone before God and asked the Lord to forgive them for their sin. You understand that? And so God is going to forgive a person when they ask them for their sins. So some of you, you're mad at somebody that God has forgiven. It's crazy, right? The Lord showed me that you can be mad at your mother. You can be mad at your father. You could be mad at your brother. You could be mad at your uncle. You could be mad at your auntie. You could be mad at your ex-husband. You could be mad at your friends. You could be mad at the person who did something offensive to you in the church. And if that person went to the Lord and repented for their sin, or just asked God to forgive them, I'm sorry, I did something wrong, then they're forgiven, but you're still holding an ought against that person. And that is going to put you in a certain position with God. I know it doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. It's not fair what they did to you. I get it. I totally get it. I'm trying to tell you, I'm not telling you anything. I never just come up on this platform and say, oh, it's so easy, and just talk. These are things that I've experienced myself, okay? Now, whether God had forgiven the person or individuals or not, I don't know. But this is stuff that I had to learn some really hard, hard truths from the Lord and make a choice in whether I'm going to trust the Lord to deal with this person. If someone has hurt me, sometimes they haven't asked the Lord to forgive them, and they're just continuing on. So my thing is not to look at that, but to look at my posture, my relationship with the Lord, that I don't allow whatever it is that they have done to affect me. But what God is showing me is that there are a lot of people who are angry and mad at people that's already asked the Lord to forgive them, okay? Came to him from a true and honest place. He's working on their hearts. He's working on them, and you are angry at the person that has now repented before the king. And you're against that person, and you're talking against that person. And that's one of the things that the Lord wants me to tell y'all to be careful about. Even when people have done you wrong, you got to be really, 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 really careful about how you talk about them, about how you discuss them. You can still talk about something that happened last year like it happened the last hour, like it happened an hour ago, or if it just happened. You have the same type of emotion and feeling when you talk about what someone did to you 10 years ago as if they just did it. And that's a sign, my brothers and sisters, that you are still bound. But guess what? You could be mad at this person that did something to you 10, 15 years ago. This individual did this. And I'm not negating the seriousness of what's happened. But guess what? That person that did this thing to you 10 years ago, whatever they did, they asked God to forgive them. They repented quietly before the Lord. They had a moment, whether they went back to just being, a rancid person. At that a moment of vulnerability, they asked the Lord to forgive them, and he forgave them for it. And you're still mad at them for it. You're still holding them accountable. And what you have to understand is unforgiveness poisons you. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's something that I heard somewhere, but it was effective. And I remember the Lord told me something when I was going through something, and the Lord was like, don't forgive them. Would you forgive them? Forgive them, not for them, but will you forgive them for me? Will you forgive them for me? And that made a difference. Forgiveness is not just, I forgive you and the feelings are gone. The feelings are very much there. But when you profess out of your mouth, you must confess it. You have to speak the things that are not as though they were. So you say it out of your mouth even if you don't feel it. I forgive so-and-so for what they've done to me. And then you trust the Lord to take those words that you've spoken and you turn your heart towards God and say, now, Lord, I've taken this step. Please help me through the process of being healed. Remove unforgiveness from me. Because if you don't forgive, believe it's Mark 7:15, it says that if you do not forgive people, if you don't forgive the person that trespassed against you, neither will God forgive you. So if you think about it, if you were mad at somebody, I actually just sent this to somebody, but this is a very common thing. I get emails about it and stuff. So I'm going to put it like this. If someone hurt you 5 years ago and the moment that they did it and they hurt you, you have never forgiven them from what they did to you 5 years ago, every sin and every mistake that you've ever done since that time, you have not been forgiven for it. The word of God says, Jesus says, if you don't forgive the person that trespass against you, neither will your heavenly Father forgive you. And you got to think, guys, God has forgiven us and made us whole and is using us now for his glory and honor. And you know, the funny thing about God is going to use you to preach and to teach and to minister on areas in which you have failed or you at one point was bound in sin. So he frees you and now you turn around and talk to other people about where you've been, whatever. Now you know the right way, right? And that's how you have some people that be looking at you like, well, how could you tell me this? How could you tell me about living in peace when you used to be busting people in the head with bottles? How could you be telling me about walking in sexual purity when you used to be so and so? But that's what God does. He's going to pull you out of that, clean you up so you can now be an ambassador and speak on his behalf on that very thing that he's cleansed you from. Because guess what? You're not only the hair club president, you're also a client. Some of y'all will get that, some of you won't. But all I'm telling you is this. If you don't forgive from whatever time this instance happened, in this situation happened, if you have never forgiven them since then, everything that you have done up until this very moment that you're watching this video, it's still not forgiven because God is not going to forgive you. Then we also have to think of, you and I are being used for God's glory right now. But think back on some of the stuff you've done to other people. And don't just think about little things. Think about some major things that you've done in past relationships. Think about the things that you've done to certain people you didn't know. Think about when you used to be rolling on the block with your friends and the person that you may have done something to shame them, to make them feel bad. The time you hurt somebody in school, maybe you were a bully. Maybe you stole something. Maybe you did this. Maybe you've done some pretty awful things that you don't even want to think about. Well, guess what? You're forgiven now. So should God have kept you and held you in contempt for what you did? So that's how it is with forgiveness, my brothers and sisters. You see, you don't want to release them, but there are people that still remember you, what you used to be. Okay, they haven't moved on. They still see you as that same person. When they look at you, they remember what you did that time. But you are set free in God. And guess what? They're still holding unforgiveness against you. Guess what? That's their problem. But God has forgiven you. He has set you on a straight path. So whether that person has received the Lord or not, you just have to realize that truly forgiving someone, especially for very painful offenses to you, it's not to negate it. It did happen. But the only way that you're going to be healed is to turn it over to the Lord, confess it out your mouth, and then just go all in with Christ and let him truly heal you and lead you on the right path to forgiveness. All right, guys. But the Lord just wanted me to let you know, some of y'all are mad at people that he's forgiven already. And some of you are mad at people and you have not been forgiven for any of the stuff that you have done. So, you know, if you should pass or something, you know that you ain't going to heaven because you have a bunch of 5, 6, 12, 14 years of sin that you asked God to forgive you, but you were never forgiven because you're holding somebody else in contempt. All right, guys. Peace out.